Let's talk about something we see play out constantly across financial services and data companies. The challenge of building effective engineering and data teams within real budget constraints. Here's what might surprise people. Even at well-established companies, even at firms that look incredibly successful from the outside, budget discipline is intense. Heads of engineering and heads of data are constantly being asked to deliver more with the same resources, or sometimes even less. The questions are always variations on the same themes. Where do we find people who actually understand our domain? What capabilities should we build internally versus bringing in externally? How do we make our annual budget cover everything we actually need to accomplish? It's always the build versus buy question, right? We've worked across enough financial service and data companies now to see clear patterns in what works and what doesn't. Let me share a few observations. First, let's talk about the month-to-month scaling model. This is a huge selling point in the staff augmentation world. Ultimate flexibility. Scale your team up and down as needed. And look, that flexibility is genuinely valuable for startups that might need to pivot quickly and directly or aren't sure what their needs are from quarter to quarter. But here's what we consistently see. For established companies operating on annual budget cycles, this isn't usually the critical factor. Most of you know by Q1 what your major initiatives are for the rest of the year. You're planning roadmaps and not reacting month to month. The flexibility sounds great in sales pitches, but it's often not solving your actual problem. What we see work time and time again is this principle. Fewer people, higher quality. That's it. The best engineering and data teams aren't the largest. They're the most capable. Every person is a force multiplier. The challenge, of course, is building that team exclusively with full-time hires at current market rates that can consume your entire budget before you've filled all the critical roles that you need. Here's a pattern that we see fail more often than it should. Companies trying to save money by bringing in a large number of lower-cost contractors. The spreadsheet math looks attractive up front, but in practice, you get inconsistent quality, you spend enormous amounts of time on coordination and management, and you often end up redoing work. Those cost savings disappear into inefficiency really fast. The approach that consistently works is what I'd call strategic thinking about talent acquisition. Not just, can we afford this person, but what's the optimal way to get the expertise that we need at a cost structure that works for our annual budget where we can actually deliver. One thing we've learned working specifically in financial services and data environments is that domain expertise compounds in value faster than generalist skills. Someone who's worked in your type of environment before, whether that's regulatory compliance, high-frequency data, processing, complex financial systems, workflow managements, they just operate differently. They move faster. They ask the right questions up front. They understand the edge cases and the gotchas before they ever become problems. That expertise compresses timelines and reduces risk, which has real budget implications, even when it's harder to measure that directly. The other insight that we see make a meaningful difference is thinking about your annual budget as a strategic allocation, not just a headcount exercise. Some capabilities absolutely need to be in-house, full-time, with complete control and deep integration into your culture. But others can be structured differently without compromising on quality or outcomes. The key is being intentional and strategic about which needs is which. And that decision looks different for each company based on what you're building and where you are in your growth stage. If you're building or scaling a technical team right now, the question we're spending time on isn't just how many engineers can we afford. It should be what combination of talent, expertise, and cost structures give us the highest performing team within our actual budget reality. That's where the real strategic leverage lives.